Love Yours, an experimental podcast. Welcome back to another episode of Love Yours. And this season we are focusing on finance because it's one of those topics that no one talks about, and actually it impacts every single day of our lives. So you're coming on a journey with me reading Black Girl Finance, Let's Talk Money by Selina, Flavius. And so far we've just got through the introduction. But chapter 1 is all about your money mindset. So my money mindset is interesting. It's probably not the same as most people, or maybe it is. Maybe I'm just naive. But my earliest memories of money was like 9 to 10 years old. I remember I just realised how little there was of it spare in my house, and I made the conscious decision that I was gonna always be able to get my own money. I didn't have pocket money, so I couldn't rely on that from my parents. And so I started to think of ways that I could make money that weren't obviously illegal or gonna cause me too much commitment. I remember me and my friend Lenny used to sweep people's front gardens for 50p. And I'm telling you, we did a good job. We used to pull up their weeds, sweep out all the dead rubbish or dead leaves, tidy up, water their plants if they had plants. For 50p, that was such a deal. I mean, back then, if I compare it to now, 50p would have been more like £2. But to us, it was okay, if we do 4 gardens, that's £2 each. So it started with just front gardens. I remember within my house, I said to my mum, if I do all the chores, what will I get? And so that was doing all the washing up 3 times a day, breakfast, lunch and dinner. We didn't have a dishwasher. Hoovering the whole house from top to bottom. So that would have been 4 bedrooms, a bathroom, a kitchen, a dining room, a front room, and at least 24 to 36 stairs. Luckily, because there were so many of us, the council gave us quite a big house, but also unlucky when you're having to do all the chores. I also had to take all the washing that was clean and fold it up and put it on people's beds. Change all the bins in the house. There was usually 1 per room. And clean the bath and sink. Those were the 4 chores, and usually they were divided between the 4 of us, but I wanted to earn some money, so I said, I'm going to do everyone's chores. How much will you pay me? And I think at first they just paid me in Mr. Kipling cakes, and eventually I think I managed to hustle a couple pounds out of them. It's extortionate, really, the amount of time it used to take me. It used to take me at least 3 hours. And then as I got a bit older, so I'm talking early teens, 13, 14, one of my neighbours used to pay me £10, and I would go around there on a Sunday and I would do all of her ironing. And she had 4 kids herself, so it was a lot of ironing. Luckily 2 of them were babies, so they were just little items, but it used to take me about 3 or 4 hours to do all the ironing. But to me, £10, that was amazing. And then as I got a little bit older, the local cab company used to pay me £10 on a Saturday to do 4 hours of delivering cab cards. So I would have to post them through people's letterboxes, and I would do this, and he would say, right, your shift's 4 hours, and at the end of it you'll get £10. And I'd do this every Saturday, and that was £40 a month. And so that was a lot at the time, but when you think about it, I was only earning about £2.50 an hour. And he used to give me a radio to go around with because I was quite young and I was a girl, and obviously I'm going up to people's front doors, so he would give me a little radio in order to make sure if I ever had a problem I could quickly radio in. So even though from a young age I was really capable of making money, saving it was a totally different thing. As I said, I grew up so working class. I've never been on a family holiday. That's all I need to say, really. And my parents always spent the little money they did have on little things to like treat themselves, because obviously they couldn't treat themselves in a big way. So we had Friday treats where we could pick something in the shop on a Friday. My mum would buy it for us after school, which is probably why the money I did earn ended up going on like sweets or magazines or just nothing substantial, nothing important, just the things that my parents wouldn't buy me that other children's parents would. And so I would just use my money that I'd worked so hard to earn to buy for myself. In Black Girl Finance, Selina says your money habits are developed by 7 years old. And in my house, there was no discussion of savings. In fact, my sister, who was probably the best, she was the youngest at the time and was the best at saving, would end up losing out because my dad would spend it. I actually remember him going into her room, into her piggy bank, and taking the money out of her piggy bank to go buy cigarettes or lottery tickets. Like, it's just wild. Imagine the youngest person in the household has the most amount of savings, and even then they get spent by the adult. How embarrassing is that? I could never imagine doing that to River. And Selina talks about her mum got kicked out of her house and had to fend for herself, and that's basically what happened to me. So at 18 years old, saving had never been a thing, but it was not even an option anymore because it was about surviving. Which is ironic because my grandma, even as an adult, has financially supported my mum, but my parents were never those people to me. Selina also talks about how money was never allowed to be talked about in her house. I think in my house it was the opposite. It was made really obvious to us that we were poor. We were reminded all the time, like daily, even though I never felt poor as a child, but my dad always brought up how little money there was and the fact that we were poor. And then on the flip side, my mum decided that the best thing to do was to keep up with the Joneses and keep up with appearances, and so she would max out credit cards or catalogues, and we always had really nice clothes or like really nice shoes, like quality stuff. She loves M&S, and Littlewoods is all I remember growing up. But then within the house we were living on like ice and frozen meals. It was ridiculous. I remember when the boiler broke and my dad left it broken for about 8 months, and every day I had to get up at like 5, 6 in the morning to boil kettles, to bath and get ready for school. I remember him making us eat plain rice for every meal as a punishment. Me and my sister used to pile soy sauce on it because he said we needed to appreciate food and understand that some people don't even have food, so we needed to appreciate food more. We needed to appreciate the hot water. But even still, I guess I was quite a happy child because in my heart I didn't feel poor. I just thought that was how people lived and this was normal life. Selina mentioned some really common sayings that get said in black communities, in households, including money doesn't grow on trees, you can't take it with you when you're gone, rich people are cheats or fraudsters, according to my dad they're all Illuminati, I only want enough to get by, money is the root of all evil. These sayings were the same in our household, even though like our households were different. My parents definitely made me think I didn't need to worry about saving. As long as I had enough money for what I wanted, I could go make more when I needed it, rather than budgeting it. And I think the first time I really appreciated the value of a pound was being made homeless. I remember one point being in between flats and I was coming home, I was hungry, and I went into the shop to buy, I think it was pasta sauce, because I knew I had pasta at home. And I literally, as I walked into the shop, there was a homeless guy saying, have you got any change? Have you got any change? And I had exactly £1 on me. And I said, sorry, mate, this is all I've got. And I went into the shop and the pasta sauce was like £1.60 or something. And I just thought, oh, you're going to have to eat plain pasta. And then when I came out of the shop, he was still there. And I said, you know what, you might as well have this pound because I can't even buy what I need for dinner. And I hope he spent it on food. But it was so bad that I couldn't even buy pasta sauce. So I think that throughout my whole childhood, saving and budgeting was just really overlooked. And it's great because in the book, Selina gives you like practical activities to really make you think and assess your behaviour. It's almost like a form of therapy as I'm reading it. And I need that because even within my marriage now, my husband hates talking about money. So similar to my last series of Love Yours, this message of who's in your circle, challenging you and pushing you to have these important conversations and focus on developing good habits is so important. And on that note, I'm going to leave you with this quote that I feel really reflects everything Selina's talking about in this chapter of money mindset. And I really want you to also think about how you think about money. If you're joining the book club and reading along, then you can take part in the activities that Selina sets out. But otherwise, just have a think about how, when you think of money, maybe do a brainstorm. What comes to your mind? And that will help you determine what your money mindset is. So to leave you on this quote, it's from Nina Simone. She said, "What kept me sane was knowing that things would change. And it was a question of keeping myself together until they did." And that's literally what I've had to do. So it really resonates with me, that quote. In the next episode, we're going to be talking budgeting, chapter 3. But until then, make sure you subscribe, like, comment, share, and I'll speak to you on the next episode. Love Yours, an experimental podcast